You will call me the Collector.
This incompetent theme.
She's here.
How did Fu know Marinette was coming? If he had some sort of Kwame radar, he should have used it to find Nuru instead of cheap tricks like this.
I've been here.
Why is Marinette talking like this is something she barely remembers? Princess Fragrance was only 2 episodes ago.
I'm guessing you're not really a vet?
The voices in this episode are pitched up once again. Granted, it's a lot less annoying than what they did in season 1, but it's still a sin.
I knew that day, that very moment, that you'd make a fantastic ladybug.
Because she didn't let an old man get run over? I feel like there should be a lot more qualifiers than just that, but maybe that's just me. After all, I always let old men get run over.
Master Fu is the last known member of the Order of the Guardians.
Technically, he's not a member of the Order, since he never actually finished his training.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Marinette.
If you listen closely, Wei says Marinette's name with a slight French accent. This is strange because he's the only character who does so, and unlike the rest of them, he's not even French. What's so special about these 7 Miraculouses? Why do they get a main stage appearance while all the others are confined to small drawers? I get the Ladybug and Black Cat Miraculouses, but the Fox? That's arguably the worst one.
2 of the Miraculous were lost that day. The butterfly and the peacock.
And all the rest of the Miraculouses that don't belong to this particular set, but the writers haven't thought of those yet, so they're not important.
Also gone forever was the ancient spell book.
Calling it the spell book is a bit strange since there's probably a spell book for every set of Miraculouses. But, as I said earlier, the writers haven't thought of those yet, so the spell book it is.
These pages contain various spells capable of giving Ladybug and Cat Noir special abilities.
Capable of giving all Miraculouses special abilities, not just Ladybug and Cat Noir. They may be the main characters, but they're not the only ones with Miraculouses, you know. Speaking of Cat Noir, is anyone gonna explain this all to him? Anybody gonna let him in on this super important backstory? Spoiler alert, they don't. Ever. See anything wrong with this sequence? What about now? See it yet? Yeah, I don't know how I noticed it either.
How can I possibly trust you again?
Like you ever trusted him in the first place.
It's one of a kind. The book's the source of my inspiration.
Adrien, are you seriously not picking up on this obvious villainous intent? Even without the backstory of Fu, he should still realize that his father having the book is strange, right? I guess I might be expecting too much out of a blind boy.
Whoever owned the spellbook could be Hawkmoth?
You didn't see who it belonged to then?
No.
Marinette. The fate of the entire world rests on this. Do not prioritize your crush over the entire world. It's things like this that make it clear Fu chose the wrong holder. Fu obviously knows Adrien can't be Hawkmoth, so telling him this now would work greatly in their favor. Fu could just ask Adrien where he got the book, since he knows he can't be trusted, and Hawkmoth's identity would be revealed. The whole show ends here if Marinette doesn't lie about something so astronomically important. The sound effect of the door closing plays, and yet the door doesn't move.
So it wasn't Adrien's book. It was his father's. This is a very strong lead, Tiki.
It's more than a strong lead. It's the obvious conclusion. I know this episode is going to pull some kind of trickery to keep the secret, but the answer is so obvious that no matter what happens, Ladybug should still at least investigate Gabriel.
Tiki?
How the heck is she going to get out of the school's bathroom without being spotted? Conveniently, she does that part off camera, so I guess she's just really sneaky. What the heck does her yo-yo latch onto here? A cloud?
It's a good thing we Kwamis can never be filmed or photographed.
Thanks for reminding me, Plag. Adrien's identity is now compromised. Plag was the one who opened the safe, and Adrien was talking to him the whole time, even addressing him by name. Gabriel would make the connection, or rather he would if he had any brain cells. Luckily for our heroes, he's about as smart as a rock.
The wrath of a father betrayed by his son. What perfect prey for my Akuma.
Why are you monologuing? There's no need to trick yourself into believing you aren't Gabriel. Also, did you just teleport again? I admire your flair for the dramatic, but a time spotlight is a bit much, don't you think?
Nuru, I renounce you. Come to me, my little Akuma.
It still doesn't make any sense to me that the Akuma can remain while Hawkmoth is detransformed. Even worse, he renounced Nuru entirely. At the very least, the Akuma should no longer obey his commands since he isn't the holder of the Butterfly Miraculous anymore.
He won't forgive me until I find that book.
What kind of remote is this, and why does pressing the big red button open this specific window, and only this window? That seems like an odd purpose for a big red button.
I guess the spellbook will have to wait a bit longer.
Cat Noir calls it the spellbook despite having no way to know that's what it's called. I guess he didn't need to be there for the exposition dump, as he seems to have absorbed the information through superhero osmosis. This book is extremely inefficient. You could fit twice as many things if you put drawings on this side of the page as well.
Can't wait to know more, my lady detective.
What did you just say?
Can't wait to know more, my lady detective. You got proof?
I can't tell you.
What do you mean you can't tell him? Of course you can. In fact, you should. Just say you saw Lila throw the book into the trash at the park. You were there, after all, so it's not suspicious, nor would it expose your identity. Gosh, this show is obsessed with keeping unnecessary secrets.
A petal?
This Lucky Charm is insane. So far in season 1, we've only had Lucky Charms that made sense given the context Ladybug already knew. But Ladybug hasn't seen the foosball table yet, or the giant shelf of CDs, nor has she figured out that the pages are limited, or that they'd end up in Adrien's room. So did her Lucky Charm just predict the future?
Gabriel Agreste can't possibly be Hawkmoth since he's been akumatized.
Except akumatizing himself is exactly what Hawkmoth would do if he thought you were onto him. Maybe Cat Noir, as uninformed as he is about the situation, would believe this, but Ladybug shouldn't. How is Ladybug keeping this petal secure? She doesn't have her yo-yo anymore, so is it just magically sticking to her? Once again, this cataclysm is way too specific. It destroys the shelves and the cases of the CDs, but not the CDs themselves. But it doesn't really destroy them, instead turning them into a weird shade of black and somehow spitting all the CDs off the shelves in the process. Can someone please decide how Cat Noir's cataclysm works and just stick to it already?
It's already full!
Collector clearing the page earlier was actually pretty good foreshadowing. However, this reminds me of Simon Says, who seemed to have an infinite number of cards on hand. I mean, it is magic, so why can't it just create more pages? The logic works within the confines of the episode, but, as usual, it's not consistent when you examine the whole show. Oh, and Ladybug is extremely lucky that she herself happened to be the one item that pushed the book over its limit. Oh, so now the book fills up both sides of the page. I see how it is, animators.
Are you okay, sir?
Obvious slip-up is obvious. Cat Noir's got a sparkle in his eye, despite the fact that he's not facing any light source.
Since Gabriel Agreste was akumatized, he can't possibly be Hawkmoth.
That's very probable.
Some might say his akumatization is actually more suspicious, since, as I said before, that's exactly what Hawkmoth would do to throw off accusations. And since Fu should know that Hawkmoth is capable of de-transforming while the Akuma remains, since he is the guardian and all, he should not dismiss his concerns so easily. And even worse, the Collector was remarkably easy to defeat, almost as if his entire existence was just to prove that Gabriel can be akumatized.
If we want to be stronger than Hawkmoth, we have to trust each other.
That's rich coming from you. I don't see Cat Noir sitting in on this conversation, do you? Clearly trust isn't a word you actually understand, Fu.
Modern inventions really are quite incredible.
There's writing on both pages, and yet Fu only takes one picture, thus only saving half of the information. It's no wonder Ladybug and Cat Noir couldn't defeat Hawkmoth for so long.
I was scared he'd see me staring at his book, so I hid it in my backpack.
This is so astronomically dumb, it actually blows my mind that anyone thought this would be a good idea. Giving up a book that can power up Miraculouses to the potential bad guy who also has a Miraculous is obviously a bad decision. Of course, it doesn't matter since Gabriel already made a copy of the book, but they don't know that. You just handed over a dangerous weapon to a supervillain and you did it willingly. These people really are the most incompetent superheroes ever. Speaking of incompetence, Gabriel should now be suspicious of Marinette being Ladybug, especially since Ladybug and Cat Noir later used power-ups they only could have learned about from the book. Not only that, they had no other reason to visit the Agreste mansion earlier in the episode unless they were already suspicious of him due to the book. And Gabriel clearly knows this, seeing as he later says,
You almost managed to find out who I am.
All that really matters is for Adrien to be allowed out of the house again.
I'd argue the fate of the world matters much more, but whatever boats are float, I guess. He goes down, but then somehow goes back up? What in the quantum masking is this?
Darkwings, rise!
Why do these butterflies do this? They don't always do this in the future, so do they only do it when Gabriel is feeling particularly dramatic? So, to recap, Cat Noir and Ladybug should know who Hawkmoth is, and he in turn should know Cat Noir's identity and at least suspect Ladybug's, and yet this conflict continues for at least 4 more seasons. I guess the characters aren't the only ones who are incompetent.
That was your first day of school when we were much, much younger. I made the mistake. Back in the days.
Happy to see me again?
There's no need to trick yourself into believing you aren't Gabriel. Where did my voice just go? What? Once again, this cataclysm is way too Pacific? What the heck does her YOLO, YOLO, what? Even worse, he renounced
Let's go!
Let's go! Get down, Mr. President!
Butterfly?
Happy to see me again?
At your service, Princess Fragrance.